Sony's professional-grade A99 II is an update to 2012's A99. It features a full-frame sensor and an atypical translucent mirror that does move. The mirror facilitates faster shooting speeds and, as a result, Sony is aiming this camera fairly squarely at sports and action photographers. You get all of this in a body which is a couple of grand cheaper than Nikon or Canon's equivalent top-end models, making it a compelling choice for pro photographers on a budget. Despite cramming it full of new features, Sony has managed to shrink its size by 8%, compared to the original A99. With that said, it's still a fairly chunky camera. It has a large, molded grip with a textured coating, which feels comfortable in the hand. I've been using it with both a 24-70mm lens and 85mm f/1.4 lens. It's definitely heavy to hold with prolonged use, but this is true of all full-frame cameras. On the top of the camera you'll see a window which displays certain key settings, handy for quickly knowing how you've set up the camera. This is particularly useful in darker conditions, as you can illuminate the window via a button also found on top of the A99 II. A number of other direct access buttons can also be found across the top plate, including controls to change ISO, drive mode, exposure compensation and white balance. It has clear from the number of buttons and dials that the A99 II is intended for a top-end audience. On the rear of the camera you'll find even more controls. A joystick, which you can use to set the f-point, is particularly useful. On the front of the camera, near the lens mount, is a button and dial setup that you can use to change certain functions of the camera. It's customizable and is something that videographers will appreciate as, if set up correctly, you can use it to work completely silently when recording video. A dial on the top of the camera has different functions depending on the mode you're reusing the camera in. For example, if working in aperture priority, you can use it to set the aperture. Although Sony has reworked its menu system to be more sensibly arranged, it's still quite a complicated setup that you'll probably need to spend some time figuring out. Because of the A99's translucent mirror design, it is essentially always shooting in live view. This means that you can see what you're photographing on the screen at all times. Sadly, Sony, for unknown reasons, remains reticent to include touchscreen technology on all of its models. It has recently introduced a touch-sensitive screen for the A6500, but with the A99 II you'll have to make do without, which is a shame as it would have been very useful for things like quickly setting autofocus points. That said, using the joystick in conjunction with the viewfinder is a good experience. It's placed within easy reach of your thumb, and since it protrudes from the body, it's easy to locate and use. The screen is a slightly odd-looking beast, but that works well to provide flexibility of viewing angles. Unlike most full-frame cameras currently on the market, Sony acknowledges that having a fixed screen can sometimes prove awkward when you're photographing from less straightforward positions. The one on the A99 II can move to the side, down, and even face completely forward, ideal in many situations, including for selfies. Videographers are also likely to find this useful. Using an electronic viewfinder simply isn't to everybody's tastes, and you'll find many pro shooters shudder at the thought. But the large, bright, high-resolution viewfinder on the A99 II provides a great view of the scene, and thanks to improvements in the technology, it displays hardly any lag when you're moving the camera from side to side. There's a decent spread of f-points across the frame. Specifically, the camera comes with 79 hybrid cross-type f-points available, along with 399 supporting points. 323 of the points are actually selectable, while 15 of them are particularly sensitive. You can see which is which when you're recomposing, as the shape of the f-point superimposed on the viewfinder will be a rectangle for the more sensitive points. These will give you better performance when trying to focus in low light. In practice, autofocus is generally very good, but it can struggle when photographing in low light if the subject is also low contrast. In my testing, attempting to lock onto a black dog in a dimly lit room was troublesome. for example. In these scenarios, it can be easier to use the more sensitive f-points and use a focus and recompose technique to get the shot you want. Tracking focus is generally pretty good, especially if you have a rough idea of how the subject is likely to move. As this camera is effectively always shooting in live view, you should expect quite a drain on battery life. In fact, the camera's battery has a rating of only around 440 shots. That may seem like a high number, but to a professional rattling off lots of frames in high bursts, you'll soon come to realize it's really not. Most professionals will probably find they need invest in 2 or 3 spares as a result. Changing batteries on the fly is a bit of a faff, so hopefully Sony will improve the battery tech in the near future. Image quality from the A99 II is excellent in a variety of different shooting scenarios. There are a few oddities that you may need to pay attention to as to get the most from the camera, however. Because the mirror doesn't move out of the way, the camera can be prone to underexposing in some situations. You may find yourself dialing in exposure compensation in some situations where you might not normally expect to. Make sure you shoot in RAW format, because by doing this you can pull back any detail that has gone missing from shadow areas if it has underexposed. Aside from this issue, which can be pretty easily overcome, colors are bright and punchy without straying into unrealistic territory. Detail is also fantastic. Examining pictures at 100% reveals just how much fine detail you can see, especially at the lower end of the ISO sensitivity scale. Stepping up to sensitivities such as ISO 3200 and you can start to see some painterly-like details in certain areas of the image if you examine at 100%, but you can still produce print-worthy images up to around ISO 12800. Speeds such as ISO 51200 are useful if you're only intending on printing at small sizes, or sharing online, while the top speed of ISO 102,400 is perhaps best reserved for the most desperate of situations. The camera has 2 different settings for automatic white balance. The standard setting will generally err towards yellowish or warmer tones when faced with artificial lighting. It goes a little too far to be overly pleasing in many scenarios, in which case changing to the white setting will leave you with a more accurate or realistic rendition. The A99 II is a good choice for videographers as it comes with a range of video-centric specifications that are bound to appeal. It shoots in 4K, as well as other resolutions, such as Full HD, and at a variety of frame rates. It also offers S-gamut and S-log shooting, which is useful for post-production work on your videos. You can take advantage of clean HDMI output, while there are also other functions such as zebra mode and gamma assist. Video footage is of a high quality, while focus transitions between subjects are fluid and natural. Here's the rub: if you're in the market for a professional camera, it's probably because you already own one and you're looking to upgrade. And the likelihood is that you will have a Canon or Nikon. Giving up your system to switch to something newer and different is a scary prospect. However, Sony offers a lot in this package that competes with Nikon and Canon models that are a couple of grand more expensive. Sure, you'll have to also switch over all of your other accessories, such as lenses, but in the fairly long term, you could end up saving money by switching to a Sony system. Pros are moving over to new systems, it just takes time. And Sony has produced something very strong here with the A99 II. It'll be interesting therefore to see what the uptake is.